Hello, my friends, and welcome to a brand new episode of Terror Radio Podcast. If this is your first time joining me, then welcome. This is a podcast dedicated in bringing you the best of horror, and thriller, old-time radio broadcasts, as well as original stories. I'm your host, Keith, aka the Radio Show Nerd, and it is Halloween week, my favorite time of year. And I have several spooky surprises for you. So, tonight's episode is entitled Conversing with the Departed. So, without further ado, this is Terror Radio. The two radio series highlighted tonight are The Clock and a new one to the Terror Radio platform, The Uninvited. Our first radio play is called Leon, and it was first broadcasted on October 30th, 1947, on The Clock. Now, a quick rundown on The Uninvited. This is an Australian horror series that ran throughout the 50s and early 1960s. It was later picked up in South Africa and ran on the Springbok radio. The radio play tonight is called Guest Spirit at Seance. And I want to say this was broadcasted between 1958 and 1960. I wasn't able to find the exact date. I also have a surprise for you. A bonus episode from Dark Fantasy entitled A Delicate Case of Murder, which first was broadcasted on February 20th, 1942. Now, you all know the drill. Sit back, turn down the lights, and listen to Leon, followed by Guest Spirit at Seance, and concluding with A Delicate Case of Murder.
Sunrise and sunset, promise and fulfillment, birth and death. The whole drama of life is written in the sands of time. We present a new series of radio programs, The Clock.
Nobody, but nobody, will sell you a car for less than Don Richards Lincoln Mercury. And especially during grand opening sale time. We've done it again just in time for a grand opening, purchasing another 10 1969 Mercury's Coupe four-door hardtops, loaded with power steering, power brakes, automatic transmissions. All have factory air conditioning. They carry the balance of the 50,000-mile or 5-year warranty. Property taxes are paid too, and priced at a low $25.95. While you're at Don Richards Lincoln Mercury, see the fantastic 1971 sexy German import Capri. Economical to buy and operate, and selling for under $2,300. Remember, nobody, but nobody sells for less. Nobody, but nobody. 633 South Main.
According to some, there are two worlds of existence. One we call the earthbound, the other the spirit world. For those who are here on earth, time is limited. For those who inhabit the spirit realm, time is limitless. And there is a definite link between the upper strata and the lower, a link that can be bridged in the space of a few moments by those who have the power to do so. Now, I can't argue pro or con concerning this belief. Time is an observer, not a contestant. But whether you are skeptical or not, you might lend an ear to the saga of a man named Marty Kane, and then form your own conclusions.
Thanks a lot for picking me up, mister. It's getting dark out there. People ain't so cordial when the sun goes down.
I wasn't afraid of you, young man. Not after I felt your vibration.
My what?
Your vibrations, your cosmic emanation.
Oh. Yeah?
Do you know what I mean?
Well, you do. Don't make no difference. I ain't touchy.
Every one of us gives off vibrations. That's how we're able to make contact with the spirit world.
Are you kidding?
You must be skeptical. Most uninformed people are. What is your name, young man?
Marty Kane.
And mine is Leon.
Leon what?
Two names are unimportant. It is enough that the spirit of my fathers will recognize one. Tell me, young man, are you employed?
I'm on my own.
What sort of work do you do?
Anything that pays. Right now, I'm just a tramp.
I admire your frankness. I also feel you might be helpful in my work.
What kind of work?
I'm a medium. I provide a link between those who are earthbound and those who occupy the spirit world.
You don't say.
I communicate with what you skeptics call the dead. Although, of course, there are no dead.
Well, Louis would be tickled to hear that.
Who is Louis?
A pal of mine. He fell into a cement mixer and they had to pour him through a net to find him. If Louis wasn't dead, then I'll eat this jalopy and I'll start right now with the mud guards.
It is odd how a man with your vibrations can lack such understanding.
If my vibrations don't like it, they can hang on to someone else.
But I feel I can change you. After a while. At any rate, I'm in need of an assistant. Would you like the job?
What do I do?
Oh, see that my guests are properly seated during a seance. Take care of my car. Run errands occasionally. It isn't an executive position, so to speak, but you will find it interesting.
Oh, that don't sound bad.
There is only one thing I must insist on, however.
Yeah, what's that?
Sooner or later you'll be converted. However, until that time, you are to keep your opinions concerning my work to yourself. I cannot afford any ridicule from an employee.
Oh, don't worry about it, Leon. I'll keep my shirt on. And, whenever you want me to, rattle a couple of chains, just say the word. We drove right to his home. It was a big wooden building that was falling apart at the seams, and it reminded me of a 3-story morgue.
This is where I hold my seances.
Looks cozy.
Of course, the word seance is a ridiculous term. But we use it because it seems to be in the fashion.
You mind if I ask you a question, Leon?
Not at all.
You really got ghosts in here that talk to your pals?
They talk through me, Marty, using my voice. And the spirit world, young man, is far wiser than our own.
Suppose I want to talk to Louis. Could you get him down?
Louis?
You're the guy who fell into the cement mixer.
I might try. Something amuses you?
Yes, I was just thinking. Maybe instead of getting Louis down, you'd have to bring him up.
You shall see tonight how a seance works. Perhaps tomorrow you'll be less cynical. Oh, Gertrude. I want you to meet my new assistant. Marty, this is my very lovely wife.
Lovely was right. Gertrude was slightly terrific. She had long, wavy red hair that fell down to her shoulders, and the skin you loved to touch. When she walked, she swayed a little, and there wasn't a misplaced curve from her black nylon stockings to the velvet choker she wore around her pretty throat. Yeah, Gertrude was quite a dish. A 7-course dinner with nothing but dessert. And I could see she was looking me over, too.
Marty is to be my new assistant. You will please show him his duties, Gertrude.
Anything you say, Leon, darling.
I have to make my phone calls now. The seance tonight will begin at 9. Before you show him round, you might give him some lunch, my dear. Then you may join me upstairs.
Hungry?
Not now.
Why not now?
Not since I met you.
You work pretty fast.
I ain't got much time.
Where do you come from?
The spirit world. I'm looking for somebody to haunt.
Well, don't try me. I've had enough of that apple sauce already.
You mean you ain't a medium, too?
I'm just bored. I want to communicate with a man for a change. Not with a nut that's halfway between here and who knows where.
Strong talk for a guy you only met 2 minutes ago.
You won't repeat it.
No?
No.
How long you been married to this girl?
6 months.
You're tired of him already?
It makes me sick.
Then why do you hang around?
I like to eat.
Dame with your looks can eat whenever she wants.
Not the way I like to eat.
He's got cash.
He's no millionaire, but he does pretty well.
The racket pays off.
$100 a week.
Hey, that's nice lettuce. Why does he live in this drafty dump?
It gives him background. Besides, you like it.
You don't believe in this malarkey about the spirits, huh?
To me, it's just nonsense. But he believes it.
Nah.
I tell you, he does. There's something peculiar about him when he goes into one of his trances. He thinks he's someone else. He swallows his own crazy line.
I'm looking forward to seeing it.
You will, tonight. You'll be seeing so much of it after a while it'll make you sick in the stomach.
Huh. But that's something I wouldn't say, baby, about you. At 9 bells, the suckers trailed in. There were half a dozen dames, the rest were gents. They sat around the circle with Leon at one end, and they watched him like a bunch of hungry cats would watch a bowl of cream. But it was Gertie who surprised me. She played it straight. So straight that I had to think back to remember what she was really like.
I believe we're ready. Are you prepared, Leon?
Yes. I'll do my best to establish communication tonight. Although one never knows, of course, when one is able to contact the spirit world at any given moment.
Mr. Kane?
Huh?
Will you put out the light?
Oh, sure. I just leave the little one burning over the door. There's no need to be in total darkness.
Are you ready, Leon?
Yes, my dear. I'm ready. The room was almost dark because the light we left on was covered with colored paper. But I could see him anyway, rubbing his hands over his fat little face. Then suddenly he straightened out and started to sway back and forth. And the jerk was in his trance. We of the spirit world are continually by your side. We watch your every move, and we in our infinite wisdom know everything and see all. We will talk with you now, and we will try to identify ourselves. Who wishes to converse with us? Speak now, please. Speak up.
Is my brother among you?
Your brother? Ah, my friend, there are so many here tonight. We shall see if we can find your brother.
I lost him years ago in an accident. Harry, talk to me if you hear me. Tell me you're well and happy.
Harry is well. Yes, he is very well. And he is happier than you are, my friend. He conveys this message to you. He tells you to work hard and be patient until the time when you shall meet again.
Oh, if I could just be sure.
Of what, my friend?
Of whether it's really Harry I'm talking to.
You do not believe.
Oh, it isn't that. It's just that there may be someone else in the spirit world who's speaking for Harry.
Harry, do you hear your brother speaking? Assure him of your presence. Assure him that we are all here.
There's a glow. Near the window. It's my brother. It's Harry!
Up to this point, I was watching the old faker shimmy from foot to foot, but when one of the customers pointed to the window, I saw it. A soft glow near the ceiling that passed across the window and disappeared. Later, when the suckers left, I was alone with Leon for a minute. He looked at me with a peculiar smile as I emptied out the ashtrays, and he seemed to read my mind. Well, young man, what did you think of the show? Well, I still ain't convinced. You saw the light, didn't you? Yeah, sure. It could have been made by headlight reflections from a passing car. How do you mean? Well, go to bed some night and keep watching the window when there's traffic outside in the street. You'll see them headlights passing like... Look, there goes one now. Yes, there's our car lights. But that isn't what you saw this evening. No? What you saw was the partial materialization of a psychic phenomenon. You saw a member of the world that is not of the flesh. Yeah, that's your story. You are hard to convince. But one day I will prove myself to you and everyone else. Yeah? How? When I die. Yes, when I die, Marty, I will return. Nothing will stop me. I will return, young man, from the grave.
It resists 47 of the worst kinds of stains, like ink, paint, even grape drink. It's quality carpet, the kind usually sold to hotels, motels, theaters, restaurants exclusively because of its durability and quality. It comes with heavy-duty commercial padding, and it's laid by factory-trained carpet layers to custom-fit your rooms. I'm talking about our now-famous carpet offer at Brentwood Fine Furnishings, where we will completely install in your own home 3 rooms of carpet, all for not $300, but a low $149. The reason for the outstanding carpet offer is because of a special purchase from our factory of over $50,000 worth of this carpet, and it comes in popular modern colors as well. Not seconds, but quality carpet all the way. Yes, carpet your living room, dining room, hallway, or kitchen. All for $149. Or even a bedroom or two. Your combination of any 3 rooms, a big 250 square foot area for a low $149. To the first 10 buyers, a bonus. Your bathroom will be carpeted free or a handsome Eureka vacuum.
Call 487-3649 tomorrow. 487-3649 tomorrow. Open at 9:30 a.m. 487-3649 tomorrow.
Brentwood's Fine Furnishings and Sugar House at 2112 South, 11th East. One's time on Earth may be spent according to one's beliefs and inclinations. And the length of this time is a matter beyond our control. But how we use this time is something else again. For sooner or later we must pay the piper for the dance.
I'm tired of it. That's all. Sick and tired of it.
Now, take it easy, baby.
You don't know what it's like living with that sword. Look, I'll take as much as I can stand, Marty. If I have to go through this any longer, I'll go crazy.
Then why don't you divorce him?
And starve to death?
Well, you got me, sugar.
Sure. And what have you got? Nothing but the suit of clothes on your back and a few measly banknotes on your mattress.
Well, if you don't want to leave him, then stop complaining. Nobody's forcing you to stay.
And you said you loved me.
What's one thing got to do with another?
What kind of a man are you, anyway? Do you want to go on for the rest of your life seeing me behind his back? Crawl like a cockroach every time he orders you around?
Who's crawling? Nobody ever saw me crawl, and nobody will.
Marty. Marty, darling, do something to make me free.
What can I do?
There are ways that a man can think of.
What are you getting at?
But if Leon were to die, we'd have the business. I know his act by heart. And I know how to pick up the customers.
What do you mean, if Leon was to die?
He's also got a little money in the bank. 8 or 10,000. That would belong to me, too.
Now, wait a minute, Gertrude.
It'd be easy. He's such a fool. He'd fall for anything I told him. And we could get away with it.
Get away with what?
Murder?
Are you nuts? What are you saying?
Look, it was only a figure of speech. What I meant was we could get away with murder by leaving him flat and helping ourselves to a little bit of cash on the sly.
Not a chance. We'd be picked up in no time.
You make me sick. You've got no backbone. I don't know what I see in you anyway.
Oh, now, baby, don't be like that.
Get your hands off me. I'm through with you, understand? I want a man, not a cream puff. I never want to see you again. Marty?
Yeah, Gertrude.
Marty, let's make up.
Oh, gee, baby, that's all I've been wanting to do.
I'm sorry I was so mean to you. Will you forgive me?
Sure. We'll go back to where we left off 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I meant to tell you we're going to town tonight.
Yeah? What for?
I have a cousin living there, and Leon's promised to take me over to see her. We'll use the car and you'll drive.
I wish he was going by himself instead. So as you and I could be alone.
We'll be alone, Marty. Yes. Very much alone. Sooner than you think.
The way she said it bothered me for a while. But by the time we were in the car that night, I'd forgotten all about it. The quickest way to drive to Oaktown is across a long, high bridge. We reached it at 6:15. I was taking it easy and there wasn't much traffic, but when we hit the middle of the bridge, she suddenly asked me to stop. Well, what's the big idea? Gertrude wants to show me something, Marty. Here? In the middle of the bridge?
Well, just a moment. Come on, Leon. Let's get out of the car.
Hey, now, wait a minute. What are you going to say? Gertrude tells me she's observed a manifestation from this bridge. At this hour of the evening.
Don't you remember, Marty, when we drove across 2 weeks ago?
Well,
It was in the sunset, Leon. I saw my father's face. You've got to see it with me. I've got to try to look for it again.
This makes me very happy, Gertrude. Up to now, in spite of all your help, I have considered you a skeptic.
I'm not anymore, Leon. Come on, darling. Help me out of the car.
I sat there while they both got out. I didn't say a word. He had that look on his pan that he always had when he figured he'd made a convert. And he was following her to the edge of the bridge like a Scotty after a bone. I froze to my seat, watched him. I could have yelled, but the words wouldn't come. I just sat there. Saw her turn and look up and down the bridge for a passing car. Then when she saw it was empty, as the dope kept watching the sunset, she put her arm behind his back and shoved.
Come on, let's get out of here.
You push.
Come on, get out of here, you idiot.
found the body 2 days later. And Gertie put on an act. It was something to see. She said he used to walk on the bridge by himself in the moonlight, communing with his great-grandfather, and he must have fallen off. There was nothing to prove that it was murder, so they called it accidental death. And Gertie and I took over the racket and started to make it really pay. Are you ready, Gertrude?
I'm ready, Martin. We of the spirit world are continually by your side. We watch your every move, and we, in our infinite wisdom, know everything and see all. We will talk with you now, and we will try to identify ourselves. Who wishes to converse with us? Speak now, please. Speak.
I'd like to hear from my brother again. Harry. Harry, talk to me if you hear me. Are you still very happy?
Harry is well, but he is not very happy. He conveys this message to you. These people through whom I speak are my only means of reaching you, Charles, my loving brother. Be good to them. Help them in any way you can, so we shall never be parted.
Oh, yes. Yes, of course, Harry. I'll do everything in my power to keep us close, but what can I do?
You have money, Charles. Use it wisely.
Oh, let me be certain again. Let me be sure once more that it's really Harry I'm talking to.
There is no need for reassurance, Charles. You must only believe.
Wait. It's there. The glow in the window. It's Harry.
Are they gone?
Yeah.
How much did he give you?
Check for 100. Oh, baby, this racket is a cinch. We'll get triple what Leon got, and no kidding.
I told you to be easy.
Hey, you're a smart kid, Gertrude. I gotta hand it to you.
Oh, you're not so dumb yourself. That torch gag was wonderful. For a minute I thought I was stuck.
What torch gag?
And when you saw that light, you used the torch, didn't you?
Oh, I didn't use nothing. I thought it was a headlight reflection from a passing car.
Passing car? No, it couldn't have been. They're playing the street outside. It's been closed to traffic for 3 days.
I looked at her for a second, then ran to the window. She was right. The street was closed. But that was only the beginning. The next time we held a seance, I kept my eyes open. Someone was pulling a fast one, and it wasn't us.
But you must have.
I tell you, I didn't do it.
Well, you did.
Well, it might have been someone in the street.
That sound was in the room. You heard it as well as I did.
What are you doing? You're falling for that stuff yourself.
He always said he'd try to come back. And if he had...
Stop that. Cut it out. You're trying to drive me screwy. He can't come back. He's dead. He's 6 feet deep. That's where he'll stay forever. We tried to fight it, but it was no use. Gertie was rattled, and I was taking it pretty hard myself. But we stuck to the racket. There was too much dough in it to give in so quick. Besides, I didn't believe it. I didn't care what kind of noises they made. They made plenty, I'm telling you now.
I'm through.
Pull yourself together, Gertrude.
Look, I'm through. I tell you, I can't stand any longer. I'm finished, Marty.
Stop talking like a fool.
I saw your face tonight we heard that laugh. You turned as white as a sheet.
Well, I knew better, though, when I thought it over. It was one of the customs. It must have been. That's all it was, Gertie.
Well, I wish I could believe it.
Then who do you think it was, for the love of my... What's going on in your mind?
That laugh, Marty. I've heard that laugh before. It belonged to Leon.
I guess we should never have held that last seance. We should have left well enough alone. But I got a tip that a plainclothes copper was coming down to make another investigation. We had to go through with it then and put on an act. So I got Gertie 2 stiff whiskeys and finished a couple myself. And then when the crowd came over and got themselves comfortable, put out the lights and Gertie got started.
We are now in communication with the spirit world. Are there any questions?
Yes, there are.
Who are you, sir?
Detective Fielding.
And what is the question which you wish to convey to those who have passed?
I'd like to hear from your husband, Mrs. Leon.
My husband?
Yes. One or two things I'd like to ask him.
My husband... It's hard to communicate with him, sir. I cannot get a vibration.
Try a bit harder.
No. No, it's impossible. Leon! No. Take him away from me. Take him away. I killed him. I killed him. Don't let him come near to me. Don't let him come to me. Get him away.
Gertie got the chair. She didn't have a chance after making a confession. What happened to me? Well, that's the payoff. They figured I was off my nut. How do you like that? They said I wasn't responsible and I was crazy in the head. They got no right to keep me here, I tell you. I don't belong in no asylum. I'm the same as you are. They said the laugh we heard came from the detective himself and the lights could be explained. But I tell you, he still comes back even here in this cell. Why don't they believe me? Why don't they come here and listen? But you believe me, don't you? Yeah, sure you do. I'm going to prove it, too. Listen. The laugh is coming back again. Listen, and you'll hear. You hear him laughing? See? Who's crazy now? Everything in stereo. Yes, definitely. Everything in stereo. Always. At Stereorama, 1425 South, 7th East. Come in and ask about the unusual advantages of the special tape club, available only to Stereorama customers. And here's great news for tape buyers. All tapes are guaranteed. At Stereorama, you'll find 4 and 8-track tapes and players. And at Stereorama, there's no charge on parts, labor, and service for 1 full year on units that they sell. For sale, service, and installation, it's Stereorama, 1425 South 7th East, where you select from thousands of current and choice tape selections. They're open from 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. Stop in soon. And remember, tapes may be played before purchase. And if not completely satisfied within 24 hours, tapes may be exchanged at no charge. That's Stereorama. For everything in stereo, for car, truck, boat, or home, it's Stereorama, 1425 South, 7th East. Again, I repeat, I take no sides in this particular matter. It may be fact or fiction, true or false. But there is a certain graveyard in the country that lies beyond the church. And high up in its tower, you'll find a clock. Below, there's a stone marked Leon. And that is where your research should begin. The clock will be heard again next week. This program was written by Lawrence Clee with Hart McGuire as the clock. June Salter with Gertrude, Ken Wayne was Marty, with Kevin Brennan and Rodney Jacob. The clock, directed by John Saul, is a Grace Gibson radio production.
Have you heard them? Those fearful sounds in the dead of night? The muffled creak of a loosened board? The shuffling step of a ghostly figure? The eerie voice of the uninvited?
The Uninvited. True tales of the supernatural.
In a darkened room of a house on the edge of Hampstead Common, 8 people sit tensely. Every crack, every chink which might admit the tiniest flicker of light through the walls has been covered. So intense is the darkness that the staring eyes of the people present frequently seem to see clear images of the things which their minds conceive. And indeed, such images are often weird and wondrous. People and things long dead and departed from this world. For in this room, a seance is in progress.
And ye who dwell now shall see these things come to pass.
Black Monk, won't you tell us your name?
My name, my sins on earth did take from me the rites of baptism. I am cursed to wander for an eternity until my peace be made.
Is there anything we can do to help you?
There is naught that mortal man can do save welcome such homeless ones as I and hear the words. And now I feel a call.
He's gone. James is starting to come out of it. If you'll all keep quiet now while James comes out of the trance. This is the dangerous time, you know. My dear, come back to us. Come back. I think we might have a little light now, if you would, Doris. Just the small one first.
Did you get anything?
A wonderful seance, James. Really wonderful.
Oh, I'm so glad, but I'm very, very tired.
Your heart's not troubling you?
Just a little.
I think we should all leave very quietly and give poor James a chance.
Yes, if you would.
Good night, my friends, and God bless you all.
The people filed out, murmuring quiet words of thanks to their host, James Todman, who sagged now in his chair by the door. James held one hand pressed over his heart, obviously trying to still the pain. He seemed too weak to respond to the words of his guests as they left. But as the door closed behind them, the atmosphere of the seance was dissipated completely. For James Todman was a phony, a charlatan, a cheat. A man who lived on the gullibility of lonely, frustrated people, who, finding no kindness in this world, seek fulfillment beyond it.
I need a drink, Mary.
So do I. Got a bottle in the cupboard with the tape recorder.
I got to do something, Mary. There are only 6 people tonight. It's an awful lot of work to do for 6 quid. We're scraping the bottom of the barrel at the moment.
The trouble is you've got to keep knocking back people who want to come because they're not the right type.
Well, look, I got an idea. What was the name of that woman with the journalist husband?
Who? Oh, yes, Mercer. Anne Mercer. She hasn't been for months.
No, she hasn't been since she collected the information for that article her husband wrote for his paper.
We certainly don't want them back again. Not after the damage they've done us.
Yes, it was after that article that we started to lose our attendance, wasn't it? So perhaps we do want them back again, both of them this time.
Oh, you're off your head. She might have been half impressed with the seance, but you couldn't fool his type.
I'm not so sure. If we planned a session, now really carefully, we might.
I don't know. If it went wrong, it could make things worse than they are.
At your age, Mary, the only thing worse than living hand-to-mouth like we are now is being dead.
The irony is that if people like James Todman turned their ingenious minds to honest endeavors, they would probably achieve great success. Todman, however, laid his plans carefully, and as a result, the journalist Charles Mercer arrived home one night with news that surprised his wife.
Hello, darling, and what is my beautiful wife for her master's dinner tonight?
Wait and see.
Oh, all right, I won't tell you who rang me in the office today.
Oh, who?
Someone I suspect you're secretly in love with.
Oh,
Mr. James Todman.
oh, you haven't seen Mr. Todman.
But I'm going to. He rang and invited us both to a seance tomorrow night.
Charles, we can't, not after the article you wrote.
Oh, yes, we can. And what's more, we'll get some more copy out of it.
Oh, I don't want to go, darling.
The trouble with you, my love, is that you're still half convinced that our friend Todman really does conjure up spooks in that den of his. Ah, he's a fake. It sticks out a mile.
You haven't been there. It's pitch black in that room, then the trumpets come up.
Picked up by friend Todman.
They seem to waft around the room. You can see the luminous circles painted on their rims. And, darling, I know you're right, really, but please, I don't want to go there again.
Todman's a fake, darling, a charlatan. Look, today on the phone he virtually challenged me to prove it. And that's just what I'm going to do.
Well, I don't see how you can.
Don't you? Well, when his trumpets are wafting around and his spirit voices are pouring forth their wisdom, I am going to expose Mr. Todman for what he really is.
How?
I am going to shine a nice bright torch in there.
Anne Mercer, I'm so glad you came.
Hello, Mary. This is my husband, Charles. Mrs. Mary Todman.
How do you do, Mrs. Todman?
Mary, if you please. We only use Christian names. Welcome, Charles. Won't you come in?
Thank you. There's a fee, isn't there?
We ask a guinea from our friends. It goes into psychic research.
Yes. £1, £2 and 2 shillings.
Thank you. Follow me, if you would.
Very well.
Yes. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, most of you have already met Anne. This is Anne's husband, Charles.
How do you do?
And if you'll take the chair over there next to Amy, and you, Charles, up at the end by the curtain.
Oh, couldn't we sit together?
We get a much better astral balance the way I've suggested.
Yes, but...
Charles, please.
Oh, well, whatever you like, I'm easy.
Just before we begin, for the benefit of anyone who has not been with us before, there is nothing whatsoever to be afraid of. Any presence James can draw to us will speak through the trumpets that you see in the middle of the floor. And the trumpets are exactly what they seem to be. They're made of tin. The outer rim at the wide end has been painted with luminous paint so that we can see when we have a presence among us. We don't know who will come. We don't even know that we shall make contact with the other side. And just one other word. As most of you know, James has a very bad heart. He's resting at the moment. Once he goes into the trance, under no circumstances must he be shocked. If, for example, we awakened him from the trance before he is ready to rejoin us, the result would be almost certainly fatal. Well, now, I'll go and tell James that we're ready to commence. I shan't be a minute. I think James is going off. There is no reason why we should not talk, but quietly.
Well, may I ask a question?
By all means. That's Charles, isn't it?
Yes. Now, I'd like to ask, well, may one address a spirit or whatever it is directly?
Most certainly. Particularly if one is addressed specifically by someone who has passed over. It would be the right thing to do. We should stay quiet now. I think something is about to happen. Someone trying to come through. Is there somebody trying to reach us? Is there anybody there?
I can't see anything. I think all the trumpets are still on the floor.
Can you speak to us? Can you give us some sign?
A warning. I bring you a warning.
It's the wise one, Mary. I'm sure it is.
I cannot come to you. There is one
Oh, please try and tell us your message, wise one.
There is one who seeks to bring you harm. I feel his influence among you.
James Todman had prepared his effects well. It had all been achieved by pre-recording his own voice, speaking into one of the ordinary trumpets. Mary had been rehearsed in her part of the dialogue, and as Todman had anticipated, Amy, one of their most devout followers, had put in her own lines. The timing was achieved by a simple switch recessed under the arm of Mary's chair, by which she could stop and start the tape recorder at will. The great roll of thunder which had shaken the whole room had also been recorded on the magnetic tape. Its effect on the people in that blackened room was electrifying, seeming to strike through to the very marrow of their bones. There was more to follow.
What's happening? What's the matter?
Please keep calm, everyone. I don't understand exactly what is happening, but just keep calm. There is something trying very hard to get to us.
Well, we'll all be very pleased if anything they've got to offer.
Oh, please, you must take this seriously.
Oh, I am. I'm taking it very seriously.
Charles.
All right, I won't interrupt anymore, but isn't that one of the trumpet things in the air?
It is. We're about to get a present.
Please, quiet, everyone.
You have been warned. Warnings ignored are inevitably preludes to retribution.
It's the judge.
Meeting between the earthbound and those who have passed over is a privilege accorded to but few. It is not to be abused. If there is any word to be said, let it be spoken now.
Well, I have a word or two to say.
Oh, Charles, for heaven's sake.
This is a fake enough phony. You're no judge.
Oh.
In the dark, it's you, Todman. You get up from your chair and pick up one of the trumpets and rattle off all this dribble in a badly disguised voice. What have you got to say to that?
Let me come close to you.
Well, come as close as you like. See your bit of luminous paint now, close enough for me to touch it.
You have been warned.
And so have you been warned. Now let's see you for what you really are.
Get that torch out. You want to kill James.
But there's no one there. Just a trumpet in midair and James still slumped in his chair. I can't believe it. It's a trick. It must be a trick.
So far, James Todman's plan had succeeded perfectly. The tin trumpet, delicately suspended by a tiny electromagnet attached to slim black wires, crashed to the floor when Mary switched off the power. The wires and the tiny loudspeaker, which had been placed loosely inside the trumpet, were drawn back to their hiding places in the darkened ceiling. The trumpet, which Charles Mercer examined in the light of his torch, had to be the final proof to dispel his skepticism.
The trumpet's empty, and the tin's cold. It hasn't been held in anyone's hand.
You mean it has not been held in a mortal hand?
Mary, is James all right?
Still deep in his trance, thank heavens. But we must try and get him out of it gradually. Now, everyone absolutely quiet, please.
Yes,
and that torch, take it, somebody, and bring it over to me.
Feeling very foolish, Charles Mercer surrendered his electric torch and resumed his seat. But at this point, James Todman began to overplay his hand. Instead of coming gradually out of his simulated trance, he decided to continue the seance, following his usual pattern. After a few minutes, he slipped his feet out of his shoes and crossed the thick pattern carpet to the center of the room, where he picked up one of the tin trumpets. Then began one of Todman's seances in the traditional style. He introduced all his usual spirit characters, impressing everyone except Charles Mercer, who was still trying to work out how Todman had managed to cheat him in their first encounter. It was when Todman assumed the spirit character of one of his favorites, the Black Monk, that the situation came to a head. Perhaps Todman became carried away with the part he was playing.
And I saw again that there is no limit to the evil which man will perpetrate in his greed and lust for power.
Mr. Black Monk, this is Charles. May I speak to you?
This is the man who doubted.
Tell me, how can I prove the things which seem to have happened here tonight?
Is not the proof of your ears and your eyes sufficient? And you must search your heart and find the truth there.
Yeah, well, in
too.
spite of all that, when you're close to me as you are now, I feel there's still something else I could do.
Charles, for heaven's sake.
Now, look, you see, I'm not really afraid of the grim warnings of your friend, the judge. In fact, I'm going to...
Todman jerked the cotton thread, which was tied to a finger of his left hand and which connected him with Mary. And this was the panic signal, which caused the woman to turn up the music volume to full strength. Presently, the music subsided, and James began to come out of his trance. When the first flicker of light was introduced into the seance room, it soon became obvious that Charles Mercer had disappeared in the confusion. For the devotees of Todman's seance group, it had been a sensational night. But Anne Mercer was more than a little worried.
He's coming out of it. My dear, come back to us. Come back.
But where is my husband? I must find Charles. After what he did, I wouldn't be surprised at anything that might have happened to him. It was disgraceful.
I must have her help me to the door, Mary.
Yes, come.
But what could have happened to him? He's not here. He's just disappeared.
There you are.
Oh, that's better. Is someone missing?
Her husband is not here.
The seal on the door was broken.
But
the seal was broken. Someone must have entered or left during the seance. Oh, dear.
It was him. He broke all the rules, even leaving before the medium came out of his trance. It's disgraceful.
In a matter of a few moments, Mary Todman had all the seance guests out of the house. And for once, James looked really sick and ill when she returned to the seance room.
Well, what did happen? Where is he?
During the Black Monk routine, he suddenly tried to grapple with me. So I slugged him with a trumpet. He's over there. I managed to get him behind the curtain.
Oh, you shouldn't have done it, Jim.
What was I supposed to do? Have a stand-up fight with him in the middle of the floor?
Oh, you fool, Jim. What are we going to do when he comes to?
Mary, we don't have that problem. He's dead.
Hello?
Yes, just a moment. It's her, Anne Mercer.
Let me speak to her. Anne, my dear, this is James speaking.
Oh, James, I'm so worried.
Was Charles not at home?
No, not a sign of him. I got so worried that I rang the police and I had to tell them about the seance. I'm so sorry.
But of course you had to tell them, my dear.
I expect the police will be coming round to see you.
I expect they will, and we must do everything we can to help them. So don't you give that part of it another thought. You try and get some rest, my dear, and God bless you.
Oh, you're so reassuring, James. God bless you.
Good night, my dear.
Good night, James.
How could you talk to her like that?
How could I? Dear Mary, what other way is there of talking to a woman whose husband's body you've just thrown into the River Thames?
The police officer in charge of the investigation into the disappearance of Charles Mercer was hampered by the apparently sincere story told by James and Mary Todman, and the fact that this was substantiated in detail by every other person who'd been at the seance, including the wife of the missing man. The story appeared in the press, and although many editorial allusions were made, suggesting trickery and foul play on the part of the Todmans, there was no evidence of violence in the seance room. There were no trap doors or hidden cupboards. And above all, the body of Charles Mercer could not be found. The days had passed and stretched into 2 weeks when James Todman decided the time was ripe to hold another seance. As usual, Mary admitted and seated the guests, while James waited in the other room preparing for his entrance.
Oh, Jim, I'm terribly worried.
What nonsense, Mary. It's amazing what a bit of publicity will do. How many we got tonight?
Almost 30.
30, eh? We never had a roll up like that before. Now, if we can turn on a good one tonight, we're made, my girl.
How can you talk like that with this terrible business hanging over our heads?
Now, dear, you stop worrying.
Stop worrying? How can I? Jim, I want you to go to the police and tell the truth. We'll never get any peace until you do.
My dear, it's only a matter of waiting for the right moment. Then, one way or the other, I'll make everything right. Now, in the meantime, we'd better get the seance started.
There is little doubt that James Todman had in mind a new era of financial success for their seance racket, and believed that with the money rolling in, Mary would be able to quieten her conscience on the killing of Charles Mercer. Mary herself was naive enough to think that her husband, at the right time, would finally confess to the accidental killing of Mercer. But just before the seance began, Anne Mercer arrived, and perhaps this is the fact which changed the course of fate. James was already in his chair when Mary brought Anne into the seance room.
James, it's Anne. She heard about tonight's seance.
I felt I must come, James.
You're very brave, my dear. No news of Charles yet?
No, he's just disappeared as if... James, there are times when you try to contact certain particular spirits.
The very least we can do for you, my dear. Take the seat over there and let us begin. Mary, will you lead the prayer with a particular prayer for our success tonight?
Once the prayer was over and the lights had been extinguished entirely, Mary, too, seemed to settle down into a fatalistic calm, and she began to play her routine part.
I think that James is beginning to go into his trance. We may speak, but softly, if you please.
This is the most thrilling seance I've ever attended. I wonder who our first spirit will be.
I'm frightened. I admit it, I'm frightened.
James is terribly restless tonight.
You call to those in a world to which you have yet no entry.
I don't recognize this voice.
Something's wrong.
You know what you're asking.
This is Amy. Yes, we know what we're asking. Won't you tell us who you are?
You can bring no happiness by this means.
This is Anne. I want to know about my husband, Charles Mercer. Can you tell me anything?
Oh, I think he's gone. It wasn't one of our regulars.
I'm worried about James. I think we'd better finish the seance.
Oh, what a pity. I had a feeling tonight was going to be something quite wonderful.
Mary Todman had every reason to be worried about the course of the seance. Sitting next to James Todman, she was well aware of the fact that, so far, he had not stirred from his chair, and that his was not the mysterious spirit voice which had spoken to the group at the seance.
I think we must begin to bring him back from his trance. You all know the state of his heart. It's so dangerous for him.
This is Anne. I have a feeling almost as if I'm suffocating.
Would you put the very small light on, please, somebody?
I'll do that, Mary.
Oh, that's better. James, come back to us, my dear. Come back.
Look, it's James coming over here.
Anne, for heaven's sake, you know how dangerous sudden noises can be. James is here in the chair.
But I see him. Don't you see him?
Yes, I see him. He's walking across the floor. Oh, but I see him in that chair, too.
James, come back to us.
Quiet, my dear. No, don't look at me in the chair. See me here in the center of the room. My friends, tonight I am breaking all the rules. I am speaking to you, not through one of these tin trumpets as I usually do.
James!
Quiet, my dear. The time has come. Also, I am appearing to you in the half-light. You can see me, but not quite clearly.
James, we see you in the chair, but we see you in the middle of the floor.
That is so. There is not long to speak. Anne Mercer, my dear, I can only say I am sorry, and what happened was accidental. Goodbye, my friends. Goodbye.
The 30 people present all saw and heard the image of James Todman in the dimly illuminated seance room. And they all agree that after saying goodbye, the image looked around the room as if taking leave of each individual, and then moved silently to the chair where the figure of James Todman had remained, unmoving throughout the incident. The image seemed then to absorb itself into the figure of the seated man. Everyone was shocked, and Mary Todman was practically hysterical.
Lights, quickly! Someone turn on the lights!
But it's dangerous, Mary, dear. You always
For
said.
heaven's sake, Amy, don't argue. Turn on the lights. Oh.
He's still deep in his trance, Mary.
Not this time, Amy. This time, James is dead.
In the room where he'd conducted so many fake seances, James Todman produced one of the most eerie phenomena on record during the twilight moments between his own life and death. Todman, who'd falsely claimed a sick heart as an aid to his professional trickery, died apparently of a heart attack. The earlier unidentified spirit voice at Todman's last seance remains unidentified. But, in final irony, it was during the night of the seance that Charles Mercer's body was recovered from the River Thames.
The Uninvited was a true tale of the supernatural, and our transit production written by Stuart Glover and directed by Russ Reiter.
Dark fantasy. A delicate case of murder.
2 a.m. I say, Winstead, will your wife be down shortly?
Yes. Laura promised a special seance from Miss Keaton here at 2.
Yes, and I can hardly wait. I've always been so curious about things like this, but I've never attended a seance before.
Well, I assure you, Miss Keaton, you'll find it most fascinating. I've been watching Laura practice for almost 5 years. She makes more progress with every sitting. It's absolutely astounding what she can do. Isn't it, Winstead?
Yes. Quite.
Oh, yes. She really didn't know she had the power, until about 1937. Remember, Winstead, the penthouse party? Who gave the beastly thing? Do you remember?
Yes, I remember very well. It was Quentin Ramsey.
Oh, yes, that's who it was. Ramsey had a mystic oracle board, Ouija. No one could get the thing to work until they coaxed Laura to sit down and have a try.
And she made the board work?
Oh, indeed she did. All over the place. It was absolutely weird. She got messages from several of the guests' friends who had passed on some time ago. People she'd never heard of until that night.
Wow, wonderful.
Well, she used the board for about a year and then found out she could get pencil messages.
Pencil messages?
Yes, she simply substituted a pencil for the little heart-shaped board with the isinglass window. Her messages came in more rapidly that way, were more complete, and this method was less tiring for her.
You mean she actually contacts departed spirits that way?
I mean, she did. But she gave up the writing method 2 years ago. Didn't she, Winstead?
Yes, thank heavens. Every place I'd go, I'd find a paper simply covered with strange scratchings and harebrained so-called messages.
But look here, old fellow. Do I detect a shade of sarcasm in your voice?
I dare say you do. I'm rather bored with the whole thing.
But why, Winstead?
Simply because it's all a lot of...
Well, go on.
Oh, never mind. No, I wish you'd come on downstairs and get this thing over with. Frederica, I urge you not to waste your time with this foolishness.
Foolishness? Now, look here, Winstead. You can't talk about your wife's work like that.
No, darling, really. I'm absolutely fascinated by it all. I can't wait for Mrs. Winstead to come down.
No, she'll be down in a moment. I say, Winstead, really, I can't understand your attitude about Laura's work. Why, you used to enjoy watching her work immensely.
Yes. I used to love her immensely.
What? I say, does that mean that you...
Mr. Rogers, you said a moment ago that Mrs. Winstead doesn't communicate by means of pencil writing any longer.
Why, no, she doesn't. After about a year of it, she undertook a profound and comprehensive study of spiritualism and communication with those who have left this level. In her study, she learned that those departed ones can sometimes make contact with us through the use of the medium's voice. She began very slowly at first, lying relaxed on a couch, eyes closed, and eventually her contact began to use Laura's own voice for their messages.
And that's what she'll do for us tonight?
That and more.
More?
Oh, yes. You see, Miss Keaton, after Laura Winstead perfected her means of vocal communication with spirits, she continued her studies and experiments until she became able to bring about materialization.
You mean...
I mean, now we see the departed one with whom we commune.
Oh. Well, I really didn't expect that. I thought possibly a few table wrappings.
Oh, there'll be more than mere wrappings here tonight, Miss Keaton. Oh, here's Laura now. Laura, dear.
Good evening. Or should I say good morning? It's after 2 a.m.
Yes, Laura. We've been waiting for you. Really, I think you could be more prompt.
Do you, Harvey? Well, perhaps you should hold the seances instead of me.
Now, Laura, there's really no reason for you to make a scene.
Oh, no, of course not. We're not here for a scene. It's for a seance. Yes. Shall we begin, Laura?
Yes. Harvey, if this is going to bore you, I suggest you go into the library until we've finished.
No, I'll remain here.
Then I must ask you to assume the right attitude. You know we always have difficulty getting good contact whenever a disbeliever is present.
Oh, I'm sure Mr. Winstead believes, don't you, Harvey?
I'd rather ask that same question of you, Frederica. We're finished here.
Oh, don't worry about me, Mrs. Winstead. I'm quite open-minded.
I'm sure you are, dear. Now, if we'll all gather around the table. Rogers, will you turn off the lights, please?
Oh, yes, certainly. There we are. Now we'll all...
Oh, what's that? What's wrong? What's happened?
Oh, never mind, Laura.
Federico, are you all right?
Oh, yes. Yes, of course she is. I really missed my chair and bumped into hers. So sorry, Miss Keaton.
Oh, I'm sorry, too. Please forgive me, but I was startled for a moment.
There now. We're all settled. It was entirely my fault, Miss Keaton. I'm terribly sorry.
It's quite all right, Mr. Rogers.
Is everyone quite ready?
Yes, Laura. All ready.
Shall we begin any time now?
Harvey, we will begin when the opportune time arrives. Let me tell you once again that if you are impatient, it will be best that you will leave us.
Oh, no. No, Harvey, please don't go.
Don't worry. I have no intention of leaving.
You please all join hands. Roger, give me your hand. Miss Keaton, yours, please. Now, you two clasp hands with Mr. Winstead.
Yes, I understand. Harvey, where's your hand? Oh, there it is.
All set, Laura.
Now, whatever happens, no one is to break the contact. Is that perfectly clear? No one. We will soon make communication with one from another level.
Where will we see this?
I must ask you to be very quiet, Miss Keaton. No one is to speak. And when the materialization takes place, please do not utter a sound unless it addresses you personally. We're gathered here to commune with whomsoever wishes to contact us. We've gathered with open minds and with a unity of purpose. If there is someone who wishes to speak to us, or any one of us, will he or she please make herself known? Is someone seeking contact? Please knock twice for no, thrice for yes. Do you have a message for someone present? For me? No. For someone else who is present here? Do you wish to speak through me? Do you wish to show yourself to us? Ah, very well. We will await your appearance now. When you are ready to speak through me, please begin. Frederica, do you hear me?
Yes. Yes, I hear you.
I am calling to you, Frederica.
I hear you.
I am over here. Over here.
Yes, I see you.
Do you recognize me, Frederica?
Yes. You are my mother.
Yes, dear. I am your mother. Do not worry, Frederica. Do not worry about anything. Be good, my child. Be good and do not worry.
Oh, no. No, don't go. Not yet. I want to talk to you.
She's gone.
Oh, I saw her so plainly. It was my mother. I know it was. Harvey, did you see her?
Yes, I saw her.
Will you turn up the lights, Roger?
Yes, of course. Feeling all right, Laura?
Yes, quite all right, thank you.
Miss Keaton?
Yes, I suppose so. I don't know what to make of this. It's It's all so wonderful.
I'd take it with a grain of salt, my dear. And try not to think too much about it.
Harvey, I'll not have you say such things. Miss Keaton, you've just seen and talked with your mother. You may do so again whenever you wish. And in case there's the slightest doubt in your mind, I can assure you that it was your mother.
Oh, yes. Yes, I'm sure it was, Mrs. Winstead. And as I say, it's so wonderful. Tell me, why haven't I heard of your ability to do this before now?
Because, Miss Keaton, I permit no one to speak of it. I do not wish to become a public figure. I give sittings for my friends. I don't wish the world at large to know about my power, so I swear every newcomer to complete and absolute secrecy. I'm asking you for your assurance now.
You mean you don't want me to speak of this to anyone?
Yes, that's what I mean. You must promise to speak to no one of what you have seen here tonight.
Very well, Mrs. Winstead. As you wish.
I shall expect you to keep that promise. Now, the seance is ended. I shall bid you all good night.
Now, Laura, dear, won't you stay and talk for a while?
Thank you, no. I'm very tired, and it's almost 3:00.
I'll see you to the stairs then, and then I must be going. Winston, old chap, I'll see you at the office tomorrow.
Very well. Thank you, Rogers.
Good night, Miss Keaton.
Good night, Mr. Rogers. Mrs. Winstead.
Good night, my dear. Please come back again when you can.
Oh, thank you, I will.
Good night, Laura. I'll run Frederica home. I'll be along shortly.
Yes, Harvey. Take your time, my dear. Now, whatever made me say that? I'm sure you will, anyway. Good night.
Harvey, she's suspicious.
That I'm in love with you?
How could she have found out?
I told her.
You did?
Yes. Made a clean breast of it to her. Told her it was no good, she and I trying to continue to make a go of it. It didn't do a bit of good. She refuses to give me a divorce.
Oh.
I'm really desperate, Frederica. I can't stand living with her another day. She's changed so. There's no love in her heart anymore. No warmth. She suddenly becomes such a different person. Nagging, sharp-tongued, overbearing.
Oh, poor dear. You do need someone to look after you. She must neglect you terribly.
She does. I minded a lot at first. Believe me, Frederica, I was always in love with Laura. Now she's so indifferent. Everything I try to do for her.
But why has she become so indifferent to you?
I've stopped trying to explain that months ago. I don't care anymore. Now that I found you.
Harvey.
You do love me, don't you, Frederica?
Oh, yes, dear. Of course I do. But we can't go on like this. With no solution in view.
But there must be a solution. There must be some way.
But there is no way. No way except the one Laura denies us.
Just give me a little time, Frederica. It isn't hopeless yet. I promise you, Frederica, I'll find a way. I'll find a way somehow.
My darling. Harvey, I'm still thinking about what Laura did here tonight. The apparition. The voice of my mother.
Oh, nonsense, Frederica.
Darling, what do you mean?
Here, I'll show you what I mean. Here, I want you to see this, Frederica. Here you are. See?
Well, that's almost an exact image of my mother.
Nothing but a papier-mâché face, painted to resemble an old lady, an old gray shawl, and some old-style spectacles.
But how does it work? How did she make it appear?
Easily. Look, up above there. An almost invisible wire strung across the room. Laura simply releases an electrically controlled lock on this cabinet behind her chair. Since the invisible wire is placed at a single angle, the so-called spirit slips slowly out in front of those sitting at the table. Here, like this.
Oh.
There. Then Laura says whatever she wants to. Changing her voice, When it's all over, she simply manipulates this cord on a pulley inside the cabinet. The image is returned to the cabinet. Simple.
Oh, well, then she merely tricked us.
Tricked you. I've known for years that Laura's nothing but a fraud.
You might have kept what you know to yourself, Harvey.
Oh, Mrs. Winstead.
Laura, I asked her not to come here. She insisted that since you extended the invitation, she was obliged to. I felt it only fair to show her that she'd been the victim of a hoax.
Oh, Harvey, never mind, Miss Keaton. I'm not in the least embarrassed. The apparition was a trick, yes. But I assure you, my dear, the voice was not.
Oh, of course it was, Laura. You know it.
Indeed, Harvey, my dear, there are many things between earth and heaven that none of us know. There are many things that you don't know. Yes, I have used tricks at our meetings. I admit that. But not everything that has happened here has been trickery.
You'll have to convince me, Laura.
Harvey, I have a feeling that someday, somehow I will convince you. And that when I do, you'll never be able to scoff at me again.
Laura, I'm sorry about last night. But we simply must settle this thing once and for all.
I can't see that there's anything to settle.
You haven't the right to hold me like this, Laura. You don't love me. Why don't you give me my freedom?
Simple, Harvey. Because no woman likes to see another take her place. And besides, it's so convenient being married to your income.
You're the most selfish, the most self-centered woman I've ever met.
Am I, darling?
You certainly are. Laura, all I ask is a divorce. I'll see to it that you're well cared for financially.
No, Harvey. You're wasting your breath. I told you no yesterday. I say no again today. And I'll keep on saying no as long as I live.
As long as you live. Yes. Just so, my dear. Just so.
Oh, Frederica, darling.
Yes? Oh, Laura. How are you?
Excellent, Frederica. I'm driving out to Cliff Point. Won't you ride along with me? We'll be back by noon.
Oh, why, thank you so much. I would like the fresh air.
Then come along, Frederica. I need some company, and besides, I want to have a little talk with you.
Frederica! Laura! Laura, stop! Stop the car, for heaven's sakes! Laura! Good heavens, Frederica! She'll be killed!
Here's your evening paper. Harvey Winstead's wife dead and plunged over Cliff Point. 2 women forced off highway by unidentified truck driver. Mrs. Harvey Winstead killed instantly. Miss Frederica Keaton expected to die. Here you are, folks. Get your evening paper.
How is she, Doctor? How is Miss Keaton?
She's slightly improved, Mr. Winston.
Thank heaven.
But she's still in a very serious condition. She regained consciousness early this morning after a 10 days coma. She seems to recognize people, but something is wrong with Miss Keaton's nerve centers. For one thing, she can't use her voice.
An operation, perhaps?
Yes, a very serious one. To require, well, quite an expense.
Oh, hang the expense. Get the best surgeon you know of. I'll pay all the bills, everything. Only Frederica Keaton must recover.
I say, Winstead, do you really think that this girl will ever recover?
I don't know. It's been months since the accident. She hasn't been able to speak one word to me.
Oh, look here, it's none of my affair, really, but I know things have been going very badly for you lately. Losing your wife and all. If you need some money, old man...
Oh, no. No, thanks. Thanks a lot, Rogers. My money's not completely gone. Yet.
Good news. Good news, Winstead.
Yes, Doctor?
The operation was a success. Believe me, I never dreamed it would require 3 operations to make Miss Keaton able to speak again.
She can talk?
Yes, after almost 6 months of silence.
Oh, that's splendid.
When can I see her, Doctor?
Why, now, if you wish. Here, this way. Just a few minutes now. She's very weak.
Yes. Hello, Frederica.
Harvey, darling.
Oh, my darling, at last.
Isn't it wonderful, dear?
Oh, my dearest one. To hear your voice again.
I thought I'd never speak to you again.
You must forget all that, darling. Get well soon, please. Because just as soon as you're strong enough, we'll be married, dearest. Just as I've always told you we'd be. Oh, no. Wait a minute, Frederica. I want to carry my bride over the threshold.
Oh, sweetheart.
Up you come now. Yeah, there we are. Now. There you are, Mrs. Winstead, in your new home at last. Now, how about a kiss from Mr. Winstead's new bride?
Harvey, you're always the fool, aren't you?
Frederica, darling.
Oh, stop it. Stop it. You're so annoying, Harvey.
Frederica, whatever's come over you?
You thought your problem was solved, didn't you? You thought sending me over the embankment to my death was the solution.
I don't understand.
Look at me. Whom do you see? Frederica Keaton, yes, of course you do. But whose voice do you hear?
Laura.
You've been so stupid, Harvey, you hadn't even noticed.
It can't be.
Are you a believer now?
Laura, my wife.
Dark fantasy.
You have heard A Delicate Case of Murder, the 14th original tale of dark fantasy by Scott Bishop. Georgiana Cook was heard tonight as Laura Winstead. Ben Morris was Harvey Winstead. Eleanor Naylor Corrin played Frederica Keaton. Muir Height was Rogers. And Fred Wayne was the doctor. Next Friday night at this same time, listen to the 15th unusual tale in this series of dark fantasy, Spawn of the Subhuman, in which the nation's favorite soprano star makes an aeroplane flight to an incredible destiny that awaits her at the hands of a strange and mysterious madman. Tom Paxton speaking. Dark Fantasy comes to you from WKY, Oklahoma City. This is the National Broadcasting Company.
Well, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank you all for listening. And remember, you can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/terror1970, or you can find me on Instagram at Radio Show Nerd. I also have a YouTube channel, Terror Radio, which features, obviously, the radio plays along with vintage television series, such as pilot episode of The Shadow, Tales of Tomorrow, One Step Beyond, Lights Out, Suspense, etc. So please check it out. Like and subscribe. Share the videos. Will be highly appreciated. Again, this is your host, Keith, better known as the Radio Show Nerd, signing off.